I want to bring in this panel. Thanks for joining me this morning. I just want to go down real quick. Here's the question that I think I thought. Actually, I think everybody had a good performance last night. There isn't a candidate. I don't know that everyone goes forward. I think Asa Hutchinson's going to have a hard time making the case going forward. Doug Burgum, nice guy, same thing. But I think everybody did okay. There weren't any big stumbles. The question that I think is on everyone's mind is, was that a show or does it move the needle? Are your candidates or any candidate going to go forward going further, or was this just theater? Ken Cuccinelli, I'll start with you. Do you think that Ron DeSantis is going to get a bump, or anyone else for that matter?
Yeah, I think he looked very presidential and strong last night, to pick a couple of traits. And, you know, as you know, I litigate, and I quote Clarence Thomas all the time. He said, you know, very few people win their case at oral argument, but lots of people lose them. And about half the stage last night looked like they didn't belong there. And that is going to be a needle mover. And I do think, for my candidate's purposes, that he stayed above a lot of the fray. That wasn't necessarily how that was expected to go, but it did. And you know, one thing I think everybody should keep in mind: we're in a primary, but remember this: Donald Trump lost the first debate to Joe Biden, and he lost it with his typical style. And it really isn't a hard question. People don't have to believe me. They can go back and watch it if they can get through it.
So before I get to you, Stefan,
that kind of flip is not the direction we want to go, and a lot of the stage was going that way last night.
So there's two things before I get to you guys that I just, because you touched on it. I think that there's probably it's going to be difficult for a couple of the candidates to stay in the race, right?
Agreed.
Is it your belief that you guys might pick up some of that, number one? And number two is, I've asked you this previously before, I mean, do you think it specifically benefits you in Iowa?
Yes and yes.
Yeah.
I think that it's been very clear, really indisputed, that for those who do not choose DeSantis first, he wins the second ballot. So those just keep going to him. I think the biggest surprise among the folks who really didn't show last night was Tim Scott. It was a big nothing burger. He didn't do bad. He didn't hurt himself, but he was not a force at all on the stage. I agree with you on some of the others you've named, where really they need to drop out. I think Tim Scott,
and I don't want to dominate this. I think the funny thing is, I asked Cory Gardner, the chair of his PAC last night, I said, give me the case. And he was like, you know, great message. And I'm like, yes. I love Tim Scott. I think he's a great fit.
Everybody loves Tim Scott.
Everyone loves Tim Scott. But I was like, but again, this gets to the nut of the question, Stefan, and I'll go to you. Like, did last night move the needle?
Well, first and foremost, I think it's healthy to have a positive discourse that we're having about the race without throwing barbs and throwing elbows literally right next to me. As a Buffalo Bills fan, it's almost like grudgingly saying, all right, Tom Brady's a decent quarterback.
Well, first of all, he's a great quarterback. He's the best quarterback. But this is where,
But look, I mean, for Vivek Ramaswamy, he's a business owner, political outsider, and amongst all those other candidates, you have 30-plus debate experiences. Vivek has never had one.
The thing that I think was fascinating, and I was in Iowa, I saw Vivek there, I saw DeSantis. I mean, look, the DeSantis campaign, as someone who's been involved in this for a while, they get that Iowa's an organizing state, right? They know what they need to do there. I think Vivek, like, you go online right now, everybody, I mean, there's a lot of chatter about him, but this gets to the question I asked Ken, did it move the needle? Because if you don't win Iowa or New Hampshire or South Carolina or Nevada, I don't, again, politically speaking, okay, how do you get the nomination?
There is a huge ground game in all of those states for Vivek Ramaswamy, whether it's Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada. But getting to the importance of the debate last night, it really was, for the most part, his first introduction on a national stage. Right. And even before that, Vivek was in second and third place in most national polls. I think his America First message is really resonating with the fact that he's not telling folks, I'm running against Ron DeSantis, I'm running against Donald Trump. That's not his message in any way, shape, or form. It's basically saying, I'm running for the American people. And
you think you're going to see a bump tomorrow?
Absolutely. I think we're seeing a bump right now when it comes to Vivek Ramaswamy. You mentioned social media, earned media. He is front and center as the one taking the most heat in the debate, which is a good sign. You know, if there were no elbows thrown at Vivek Ramaswamy last night as the deputy communications director, I'd be sitting back saying, what did we do wrong?
Right.
And it's a message to us that he did everything right, that his message is resonating.
What do you think about Nick? I actually thought, on the issue of abortion, which frankly, just to get this out of there, I thought the way that it was framed was ridiculous. I mean, it was like a negative, like your party should be in the fetal position when you talk about life. I'm proudly pro-life. I think that, right. And I thought Nikki Haley actually did a really good job of communicating that, not just to primary and caucus goers, but it was a great message to the rest of America about how conservatives should handle abortion. What did you guys, I mean, do you think last night, same question, do you think it moved the needle, not just for you, but the field in general? What do you think shakes out of this first debate, or was it just a good show?
No, I absolutely do think that it moves the needle because, again, this is the first opportunity for Americans to see these candidates as who can be the candidate to beat Donald Trump next January when we start the primary caucus season. But when we look at the debate last night, Nikki Haley hit every single point she was supposed to hit. You talk about abortion. That's what happens when you put a woman on the stage and put her in the room and say, I'm a mom, I have a daughter. This is how we are talking about this issue. It is not just a one-size-fits-all issue. We can't just sit here and litigate it from this position or that position. And I think she actually made a really good point to Mike Pence when he kind of threw back and said, well, you have to take a position. She's like, no, I can't sit here and take a position on something when I haven't talked to folks. We can sit here and say, this is the way that it should be. But if we don't have consensus, we can't move forward. And that's been a part of the issue that we've had so far.
So Trump wasn't there last night, but I was actually really impressed with his bracketing effort. Chris LaCivita in the spin room, Jason Miller, and there were literally signs. Security was trying to keep them out, right? And Don Jr. was there, and I was like, I kept asking them, if you guys didn't want your candidate to be here, why are you here? But that being said,
and all of them have argued, by the way, how bad it is to skip debates in
but
previous
fine.
lives.
But here's my point: everyone's been in politics for a while. All that I said, I was actually impressed with their bracketing and response effort the night before. They were having dinner with all these reporters that, frankly, I was like, you got to be kidding me. But at the end of the day, again, just from an operative standpoint, I was like, okay, I get it. Like, did Donald Trump suffer at all last night for not going to this thing? Because the Tucker thing, again, just on its face, and I talked to Governor Walker about this morning and Mark Halpern, and we were doing this debate thing. They're going to go out and say 70+ million people watch this on Twitter. I get it. It's not apples and oranges. But a lot of people were saying, was it a mistake that he wasn't there?
Well, Vivek Ramaswamy has said from the very beginning he had hoped that President Trump would be there for that first debate and certainly hopes he'll be there for future debates.
He's not going to Simi Valley. It's not going to happen.
I don't know.
We shall see.
Real quick, hold on.
We shall see.
Wait. I just want to get through this. Shows up at Simi Valley, yes or no?
I think so.
No kidding.
Yes, I don't think look, think of that stage.
I know.
And stage is what he thinks about.
Yeah.
I don't think he can resist it,
Stefan,
honestly.
do you think he says it?
Either way, regardless.
No, not regardless. I just want to know, do you think he shows up?
Well, look, after the night that Vivek Ramaswamy had for that first debate, I would say any candidate should be on that stage to make their case in the same way that Vivek made his case to the American people. I mean, look at all the earned media, social media. All people are talking about is Vivek Ramaswamy.
Look, the weekend before George Bush's presidential, news hit about his drunk driving.
Right.
All good news is not good news, and I appreciate the energy that Vivek brings, but the reason he had as much airtime is the attacks coming from the other candidates for all the flip-flopping. And, and he just denies positions he took recently.
This is where it goes downhill after we said we're going to play nice.
But do you think Donald Trump should go to Simi Valley?
Absolutely not. He doesn't think that he needs to show up. And to your point, you talk about Vivek being the reason why Donald Trump shows up in California next month. To your own point, just a few minutes ago, you said that he's not running against Donald Trump. Well, if he's not running against Donald Trump has no reason to show up and prove his point against Vivek.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.